Okay, we're on. All right. The way I've got things lined up, I've got a meeting agenda. Everybody's got a copy of it. Need a call to order, and then we'll do the pledge. So call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. In the order I've got I'm going to go through the old minutes real quick. Our last meeting was actually back in the end of January. We haven't had one since. So just to touch on it, we were called to order at noon. Everybody was present. Judy read the minutes from the previous meeting. There was no old business noted at that meeting. New business, the annual report was presented, and after explanation of the report, Harry mentioned to accept the report, seconded by Judy. All in favor. Resolutions were presented, and those are what we have to do yearly on nepotism. We also adopted our standards and our guidelines for 2025. The capital asset policy, we established an investment and depository policy. The employee policy and procedure guideline was accepted. After discussion, Harry voted to accept all those, seconded by Judy. All in favor. The 2025 fire contracts were discussed. No fire contract was received from Cambridge as of that date. We did receive that contract. The rate stayed the same due to us buying the aerial for them back a few years ago. So we've got, I think, about 5 more years of set rate with Cambridge at 17, I think it's 17,500, if I remember correctly. We pay them yearly. Dublin rate remained unchanged this year at 8,500. And last year I did give an idea. Last year we saw receipts of 30,240 into fire fund, of which 24 gets paid out to the contracts. And that left us a slight surplus, which we've had every year. We're letting that build up. We'll talk about that later. The mowing contract was discussed. Rex signed a new contract. I did increase it. We talked about leaving it at $250. After talking to Rex, he's hired some help because of his health issues, and he has a younger kid that helps him with weed eating. So I went to $275 a mow for Rex. We discussed some of the House bills that were underway, and we'll talk about those. The one that was scary was House Bill 1233. That was to eliminate township government. That was defeated. So, and we'll discuss that more towards the end of the meeting. What the ITA's got another proposal in place of 1233. So, and Harry made the motion to adjourn, seconded by Judy. All in favor. We ended the meeting at 1:20. So do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I make the motion to accept the meetings
Okay.
minutes.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So we're good to go there. The first item that I want to take care of that has to be done, and we're really kind of pressured, not terribly, but we had to get this meeting in before the end of the month because by tomorrow night at midnight, I had to have the CIP resolution into the state and the spreadsheet for our CIP, the capital improvement plan. And if we didn't, and the townships don't have it in by tomorrow night at midnight, then they risk their funding next year. They won't receive any tax dollars. So, I mean, they're really, and I'm sure there'll be a few that don't, and I don't know how they'll deal with it. But the CIP, and I've got a copy laid out for everybody. It's the one that looks like this on the front. I hired a firm, Coonrod and Associates, to help us with this, to make sure it's done correctly, because we could stand to lose money. And Senate Bill 1, that was the one bill that was left after everything got boiled down this year Senate Bill 1 and the state set it up so that we now have to have a road and infrastructure fund for the township where we haven't in the past. We have to put 30% of our discretionary funds, anything that's left, into that fund. So townships stand to lose a good bit of funding that they may want for fire department or other township purposes to that road and infrastructure fund if they're not careful. So I wanted to make sure that this was done right. Coonrod charges 1% of your budget. They charge $3,500, but I think it was money well spent to make sure that we're good to go. As of 1/1/27, our projected adjusted balance is just a little over 800,000, 830,826. And it talks about the any cash balances in the different funds. The two funds that are at play in this are the rainy day fund and our general fund, which rainy day, we've only got a little over 8,000 in, but we've got 84, but our general fund is where I typically leave money that we're gonna use later on for projects. And that's the one that would be hit the hardest had we not got this capital improvement plan done on time. So the two next pages talk about those two different funds. And the most important page of the capital improvement plan is this back page. And I've got several items that I put together for the capital improvement expenditures. In fire and EMS, township fire and EMS, and then Cume vehicle, I've included money in the capital improvement plan to help Dublin with a possibly grass rig. That's 100,000. And Cambridge City with a new pumper tanker, 150. And that probably is going to be a low figure, but we needed to get something in the capital improvement plan to show why we're holding money back, the purpose for it. The next item on the list, and it shows the year of expenditure on the left-hand column. The next item, Dublin, we've got as first, and these aren't set in stone. We can adjust these if we need to. So we can go in whatever order the board decides. But in 26, show the grass rig for Dublin, 27 Cambridge, and 28 proposed rec center, $750,000 for a recreation center. In 26 out of the general fund, also cemetery restoration, lights and signs. They show 200,000 to do work around the cemeteries. Interlocal agreement with the Cambridge City Park. She's got 200,000 in here. And then out of our rainy day fund, we're showing 20,000. And the purpose of that is to redo the parking lot. So since rainy day has a much smaller amount. So the total of our capital improvement plan expenditures is $1.42 million. And like I said, this is going to change, and a lot's going to change over the next few years as far as our income, and we'll discuss that in a minute too. But this protects the money that we've been trying to hold on to do these different projects. And that way the state's not going to, the state actually doesn't see it, but we'd have to take 30% over from our money that we want to direct, like to fire, would have to be put into that road and infrastructure fund. And then we'd have to deal with that down the road. And the way it would work, say if the city or county wanted to do a road project, they'd come to the board and present the project to the board, and you guys would vote to decide whether you wanted to fund it or not. It wouldn't be an automatic thing that they would get funded. It'd be up to the board. But it's also new. There's not a lot of guidelines, in place yet. So
that can be city or county.
Yeah, it could be city or county. Anything that's within the township. It has to be a road project within the township. So, and I haven't heard anything about state, whether they can approach us or not, but I hadn't heard the city and county can. So, but anyway, thanks to Abby with Coonrod. She helped get this together for us. So this year, there's no money that we have at risk of needing to transfer into the road and infrastructure fund. It's going to go for projects, within the township that we decide we want to go for. So
I think it was a good idea to go with them.
it was
Figured out and get it done correctly.
worth it. Yeah. And I told her, I said, probably the next few years at least, we'll use them to help us as time goes by, because I've got a feeling the Senate Bill 1 was probably, from what I'm hearing, is just the beginning of changes we're going to see. And I think there are going to be more come in the next year or two. So
Yeah,
we're not there yet, you know, so we'll just have to see what happens. So the first thing we need to tackle is a resolution to establish the road and infrastructure, I'm sorry, the capital improvement plan. And it's going to be a resolution, and that's the number 007-2025. And it says, whereas Indiana code requires the township board to adopt a capital improvement plan that meets criteria of Indiana code 3669. Whereas Indiana code requires the township to hold a public hearing, which this is, we've advertised this meeting. And therefore Jackson Township Board resolves that a public hearing was held to adopt a capital improvement plan as required by Indiana code 3669. And it's got our name, the county, and then we have to have a vote and then signature for the vote. So do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
make a motion to adopt resolution, what's the number?
It's 007.
007-2025.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And if you want to go by board president, you second, Harry third, if you want. That way we can keep things
Okay.
the same on
Do
the.
you have any pen I could borrow? All I have is pencil.
Oh, I'm sorry, I took yours.
Okay.
I'll set one up for everybody.
Do yours again. I think it's ours.
Now, I think that 1% of what they're charging is a
Well, the good
good
thing,
bargain.
the
I
good-
really,
the good thing about it, and I've told other townships about it, because basing on a percentage, the townships with the smaller budgets can afford to use them. You know, it costs bigger townships like us a little bit more, but the smaller townships where they don't know what to do. And, you know, this is all new. I mean, it's something you want to make sure that it gets done correctly, because if it's not,
Look at it.
yeah.
I'm afraid a lot
And she's helped us with some other information that as
of smaller townships next year may not have funding if they don't pay attention.
she's helped us with some other information here that she didn't have to, but I'll show you that in a minute. The second resolution, actually, and
There's your UPS.
this is resolution 006.
There's your UPS guy.
Oh, 006-2025. And it's to establish the road and infrastructure fund. And this is a requirement also that we have to have done this year. Indiana Code 36610 directs the township to establish a fund for the improvement and maintenance of road and infrastructure within the township boundaries, and describe the revenues that must be deposited into the funds and the purpose for which they are expended. And whereas the Township Board of Jackson Township of Wayne County is the legislative body of the township. Now therefore, the Township Board of Jackson Township, Wayne County hereby resolve the following. The Town Roads and Infrastructure Fund is hereby established, subject to the restrictions and purposes described. Let me take care of this.
Yeah, we were talking about it and then to try to figure this out, it was a mess.
Well, even if you sort of understand it, to write your own resolution without assistance would be.
You're taking a chance.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid a lot of these smaller townships and the trustees, if you don't read all the emails, it's gonna be difficult for them.
We don't several of them have, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he said they deliver right in the middle of it.
That's the same timing.
They must have signed that now.
We have to vote on it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Did a lot of stuff.
They load them trucks at night.
He
and they-
bought some
Yeah.
new chairs.
Oh, did he? I've got a friend of mine that loads at night and for the Christmas season,
Oh, man.
kills them.
My brother-in-law used to work for FedEx down in Kentucky. Down there, you had to buy your route. You had to buy the route, and then you just contracted through FedEx. But you went through all the rules of FedEx, the whole 9 yards. And he had 5 trucks. He said, you can't get anybody to work. Nobody wanted, they do it 2 weeks and it's too much work.
Andrea's husband worked, before he got on with where he was at, because he was an IT guy. He worked for, I think it was FedEx, and it was Christmas Eve. And he was out at midnight delivering stuff. They said you delivered till your truck is empty.
Yep. And they would pay him, they give him a gas allowance, of course, but they would pay him, this is a few years back, $40 or $50 a night to leave his truck there so they could load it, so he wouldn't have to have it loaded in.
Oh, really?
So it'd be loaded when he got there. And he used to get help. Like if I had a route and I wanted you to help me during Christmas, I'd just hire you myself. And they would pay it, but how you gotta go through a FedEx training program before you can ride on the truck.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's just so much.
I imagine their liability is
Oh,
so
yeah.
high,
Oh, yeah.
you know, take a chance.
Well, we were this close, and my wife to moving.
Yeah.
When Ford closed and she lost her job at Ford, she fiddled around looking for work here and there. And of course, back then, wasn't a whole lot of work because everything was closing down. And he said, you guys come down here. He said, I'll put you on a route. And we were within a week of going down there, and she got on at Draper.
Oh,
And that's a
I heard it's a really good place to work.
I took a 2 or 3 there Saturday. Oh, yeah.
How's she doing?
It's really nice. Pardon?
How is she doing?
Well, she's doing good. I mean, she went back to work today. After she fell and dislocated her shoulder.
Did you guys take my resolution?
Yep, we took it.
Okay, you signed it?
You can have
No, we
it.
were waiting.
Okay, all right, we need to have a vote. So, need to have someone make a motion to establish resolution 006-2025. I'm sorry, I got these backward order from, doesn't matter which one goes first, but,
I'm gonna say ashamed of you.
Go ahead and make a motion.
okay.
I make the motion, we
All right.
adopt 006
006-2025.
2025.
Second,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I was afraid I'm gonna sign my name on the wrong side.
My writing's gotten horrible. Never was, but it's good.
Cut it down. I had to go back home.
A real sensitive microphone, just so you know, it right there, so it'll pick up anything and everything you say.
Okay. I'll tell you the joke later.
It'll be recorded for posterity forever.
I bet it would be.
It's on YouTube forever, I can tell you that much.
We can't erase.
Here's that right here. We'll make them official. So we've got both those done. All right. This is, we'll close that portion of the meeting. And now we'll open the meeting up for the budget for 2026. There's nobody here to complain, so what I'm looking at and what I've turned in, I've got a copy of our budget from the previous year. You guys are more than welcome to. Our total budget for this year is $356,022. I've increased after, and that's another plus using the accountant, because she told me where to increase to help us out a little bit too, to make sure, don't reduce anything this year. Keep it just like you've done in the previous years, you're fine. So this year's budget, the coming budget for 26 will be $367,720. It included a 3% increase for salaries, increase some of the across the board as far as office supplies and stuff. So you're more than willing to, or more than happy, I'll give you the 25 if you want to compare, but that's a breakdown. Trying to see if there's anything that's that I've planned for.
What'd you say it was, Lyndon, the 356, the 20?
This year's budget is 356,022, and the proposed
that's
new budget is 367,720. And it's all completed and in the hands of the state now, and then we'll receive a notice. It'll come to everybody. All of your emails are in with the state now. You'll receive what's called 1722 notice in usually November.
Okay.
And it'll tell us if the budget's been approved or if anything had to be cut. The only thing I've had cut in the past, they cut back my public, or my rec last year for this year from 10,000 to like 9,500. So, and that's because of the income coming in. And rec's one of those funds, there wasn't a lot of extra money in like general fund. So they went ahead and cut it back. One reason our budget can be this high, even though we won't have this much income, is because we've got the extra money to handle it from years past. So we're setting pretty good for some of the situations we're going to face, but there's no vote due today on the budget. This will happen 2 weeks from Wednesday. We'll have a budget hearing to adopt the budget for 2026. But this gives you an idea of where we're at. So I did increase like care of cemeteries. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute as far as cemeteries and what we do. That's probably one that I've increased the most. Community service, she told me to leave it alone. I've got 30,000 in there. So far this year, I haven't had any requests for funds, but she said to leave that as is for next year. It was kind of nice having an accountant look over the budget for me too. And that's a plus to having somebody to assist. So we'll close the public hearing on the 2026 budget. And then we'll resume this in 2 weeks from Wednesday at noon to discuss and vote on accepting the budget. And
What's the date on that? Do you know? Remember?
One,
Or did I put it down? October the 15th?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Hang on.
15th.
Wrong month.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 15th at noon.
Okay.
Yeah. Speak up, Barry, and see if the camera goes to you.
Hello.
It did a little while ago.
Yeah, it came to me just a few minutes ago.
Okay. You can see.
But it's a little dead like.
You can see how I've got it set on two different modes. You can see the back of the room,
Right.
and then you can see all of us at the table.
I see that.
And that camera was like $1,100, but it gives me the option to do that split screen. That way, if somebody out there wants to talk, it'll show them,
Right.
and it'll pan to them too. It's kind of amazing. A lot of, and ours didn't work that way. I was gonna just use the webcam on the laptop, but it doesn't have a microphone built in, and I didn't know that when I got the thing.
Really?
Yeah, and I tried to do an external mic and it wouldn't take it. So it's almost
I'm
like
surprised it
it's
doesn't have
missing
one
the-
built in.
the hardware, internal
Yeah.
hardware to accept a microphone. So I had to go with something else, and I thought, well, I'll get something that, we had the money and ability to do it. So I got something that works well.
We had that exact same setup at the foundation, and it was in the middle of a huge table, and it worked very well.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. Julie talked to me about Dublin because I guess they're paying somebody now to come in and do it, but
I was gonna say that because it didn't used to
Yeah.
hang, but it does a little bit now, but it's still not,
yeah.
it's not like that.
Yeah, well, she's asked if I would help them after first of the year to redo theirs. That way they don't have to pay out that, it's a one-time expense and not an ongoing type thing. There's actually, I found out about that camera through a vendor that I got an email from, but they wanted like $7,000 to come in and set up the camera, set up YouTube channel and train and stuff like that, but it's a moneymaker. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
because they know it's all entities. It's not just townships, it's cities, everybody has to live
Everybody has
stream
to do
now.
it.
So, I guess that's the way to make money. It's,
Yeah.
people are gonna jump on it.
Channel, or did you have?
Hey, I've got a YouTube channel set up for us.
Did
And
we already have one though, or did you have to set it?
no, I had set it up. Yeah, we didn't have a YouTube channel. And then to be able to live stream, you gotta go through a certification process that takes a few days. But I went through that several months ago, when this all came out and got it set
I'm
up.
glad
that
he's
way.
doing it.
Do you have to pay for the airways?
No, the YouTube channel's free.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think they make their money back through advertising, stuff like that, so. And then, well, we'll discuss something else here in a little bit that kind of ties into this, but anyway, we'll close out the budget and move on from there. Senate Bill 1, of course, this year has affected everybody going, and cities, towns, counties, and Wayne County now has a wheel tax, and that's part of the reason why is because of the loss of revenue. So our accountant, and I don't know that I printed this out, I don't know that I did, but she gave me a projection through 3030. I don't think she did. All right, I did. Okay, I'll pass this
You
along.
sent it to us, or at least I printed that.
I might have sent it to you, but it goes down through the differences that we're gonna see, income-wise, a projection between now and the end of 2029 into 2030. And, it's gonna be a pretty hard hit with the loss of revenue. The LIT is gonna go away and loss in some of the property tax revenue. And right now, we're looking at about 30,000 less next year than what we would have received. 17,000 the following year, 23 the following, 29, and then in 2030, 37,000 less than what we would have received.
Isn't it a
So,
bad thing? Everything's going up.
yeah.
Prices are going up, but
So,
the revenue's gonna be
you know,
cut,
we're-
so.
we're just gonna have to kind of play it by ear over the next year or two. And as our income fluctuates and we see, and the thing is, I don't think it's, like we were talking earlier, I don't think it's gonna stop at Senate Bill 1. I think there'll be more changes over the next at least 2 to 3 years, since the governor's still in. So we'll just have to see what happens, and make adjustments to our budget accordingly. There may be times where we have to cut back. The one I really want to try to protect is fire, because, their expenses just keep going up. And,
Right.
I don't want to shortcut fire. I'd rather cut in other areas if we can and keep fire fully funded. But if you guys want to look at that, the figure of losses off to the side in the parentheses, and that gives you an idea of where we're going to see less money. There are, a few townships that'll actually come out a little bit ahead with the proposed changes that they've got right now. But we're not one of them. So. I don't know.
I think it's me,
Doesn't sound like my phone.
and I never get,
It's not my fault.
I never get
I got it here.
calls.
So, and
Junk.
something that kind of goes hand in hand with that, and we don't have to vote on this now, but we have never had a fire cume fund. That's one thing that the township hasn't had. And probably over 50% probably do. It's pretty common to have a fire cume fund. So that may be something down the road that we may want to look at establishing, and we don't have to do it today. After first of the year, I think I have to have the cume fund done by like May 1st of next year to start the following year. And that's getting all the paperwork to the state, then getting approval and starting it. There'd be a new tax on the township, which I hate. And that's why I've not done it over 7 years. I hate to stick another tax on taxpayers. But it's kind of like the county has to deal with the loss of income that they're seeing by a wheel tax. I'm afraid we may be in, and see, that's what upsets me about Senate Bill 1. It's easy to say, well, we're gonna cut your taxes, but then are you gonna cut services? And especially when you deal with fire, nobody wants to see fire cut or police protection. You know, those are the two areas you definitely don't wanna cut. So we may need to look at the idea of establishing a fire cum fund, and that would help pay for fire equipment.
Would it be better to go ahead and do it at this meeting
No,
and
it
let it
doesn't-
get proposed?
no, because it's too late this year to get it in.
Okay,
It would be part of the 27 budget then, right?
You're right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
right,
27.
right. Yeah, so, you know, and I'll need to make sure and go through all the proper steps and the resolution to establish it and get everything done, but I'm afraid what maybe something we have to look at, you know, 'cause I know fire is gonna just keep going up, their costs, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
trucks
not
and,
never gonna get it.
yeah, and for us to be able to help at all, I'm just worried that, you know, I'm afraid our fire fund may, like I said, the last year, as I reported, we ended up with about 6,000 extra, and I got a feeling that's gonna go away. And we may be lucky in fire just to cover our contract expenses. And
if they say we got extra, it's gonna be cut. They'll do where they can to cut us if they can on our money.
Is that a fund that's probably not very common that most townships don't have?
the cum fund, most do,
Yeah,
most do have it, yeah.
let's have a cute
yeah.
fire fund.
It is pretty common because most townships, that's one of their main things is, you know, poor relief and fire protection. So it's pretty common to have a fire cum fund. It's just something we haven't had. And, you know, like I said, we kind of resisted that just to keep from adding another tax on the township. But you know, in order to offset the loss that we're gonna see, it may be our only option to.
The 6,000 that you have left over, can you use it instead of losing it?
That's the whole idea of that capital improvement plan. That's what that does. That protects that money, so it won't end up in a road and infrastructure fund
Okay.
or be cut. So
But
that's
you don't wanna lose it. that's for sure.
you know, the capital improvement plan is kind of a pain from one sense, but it's also a protection for the townships in another sense.
Yeah.
You know, and before, it was just assumed that, you know, we knew what we were gonna do with the extra money, like we helped Cambridge with the aerial a few years ago and used a good chunk of money for that. And it's just one of the situations where we have to show where it's going now, and that's fine. Like I said, it works out better for us to do that because just in the projects I've got listed, we're at 1.4 million, you know, so that protects us not just now, but for the next 4 or 5 years. We've got things that we're gonna spend that money on,
Right.
so it won't be taken away. But what hurts us is Senate Bill
Excuse me.
1 because of the reduction we're seeing in the property taxes. So I'm afraid it's not over. I just don't know where it's gonna end up.
Oh, yeah, where it's gonna stop. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
You know it's not going to.
No.
it's not gonna get better, no, that's for sure, so. And see, so establish a fire cum fund. Like I said, I think we can probably look at that in January and start the process then. And I think maybe next year, right now, our meetings are spaced kind of unevenly. We've got 2 in January that are mandatory. And then we go for several months without a meeting. And we may need to throw like an April meeting in next year. I think we'll have to have more meetings. Partly because of the situation. Plus, I like reporting to you guys and let you know where we're at financially a little bit more often, especially during that time between, like now, the January meeting was our last minutes we just read, so I mean, it's been several months. So I think maybe having a meeting in April or May would be a good thing. That way I can update you guys on
Right.
where we're at with the fire cum fund. So-
You're the only one the meetings will affect, right? Because you've got a job that you have to be there.
Yeah, but my boss he's a jerk, but I can usually get out.
You can get out from under.
Yeah.
One day they'll let you go.
Yeah, they let you go, right.
Or Donna, one of the two.
Open the door.
Yeah, don't tell them that. So that's on there now forever.
Right, yeah, you can get out.
I did. Go ahead and print out the information, so I've got it, and I'm just gonna keep it in this packet of information on the checklist that we have to do to establish a new cume fund. So, state action has a procedure checklist, and I've got that. We have to have all units to establish or reestablish a cume fund, have to have everything submitted by May 31st. So we've got to the end of May to get it done. So early May may be a good time for a meeting. That way we can kind of go over any last minute details on this. We have to give a publication of a notice to taxpayers, so we'd have to get it in the paper. Public hearing and adoption, kind of like what we did today for the capital improvement. You know, we do the same thing for the resolution to adopt a cume fund, a new cume fund. And then we do a publication of notice of adoption. We have a taxpayer remonstrance and hearing, kind of like today, for the budget and for the CIP. And then we submit everything to the department by May 31st for the DLGF, and then they review it, and then they'll tell us yay or nay. And most times they're gonna go along with it. They actually gave me an idea. If we establish a cume fund, we're probably, and this was based on this year's tax rate, so I don't know how it's gonna change with Senate Bill 1, but we would be looking at like 25,000 a year. So my guess is we'd probably still be looking at like 20,000 a year off the taxes based on our current township situation. So, you know, in 4 or 5 years, we could have 100,000 in there to help with another truck or whatever that we're not gonna have if we don't. So, and then I hate the idea of another tax. I'm like everybody else. I mean, everybody hates taxes.
Could that be, if we establish that, and then whatever that rate is there some way to offset that by an area or one of the funds that we're not using or don't use, or?
Well, the only one we've got is the building and vehicle fund. And that was established when we had the food pantry here. But I've used that too for fire apparatus. So that's where we took a big chunk of that out to help Cambridge with the aerial. So the good thing about having that gives us 2 revenue streams, the building and cume fund for building and vehicle cume fund and a fire cume fund to pull from, because we can use more than one on a large project. You know, we have to get the okay from the state.
We can still focus that to fire and.
Yeah, we can, whatever we want, you know, I mean, fire or the building. If we decide that one of the ideas that I've got is a rec center. So the cume fund, instead of using that cume fund for fire, the building, that could go towards a possible rec center down the way.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And that's where we stand with that, so we can tackle that come.
Well, $20,000 is not gonna buy a whole lot of anything.
I know. It's,
I mean, turnout gears, I'd be afraid, guess what that even costs now?
no, Jeff approached me, the idea of helping them with a new pumper tanker a while back. And, you know, he said there's tanker's got a lot of age on it, plus it's a clutch, and most guys can't drive a clutch. So they're looking at that. And truthfully, a pumper tanker is mainly for township use anyway. Not that it can't be used in town, it could, but you know, it's more for a township run. So, and that's what I try to, you know, we got the aerial, and you could say, well, yes or no, that's not for township. But then we've got, you know, the manufacturing plants up at 1 and 70 that need coverage. So actually an aerial is a good fit for us.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next pumper tanker, and then help double with a grass rig. And between those,
Keeps your ISO rating down.
yeah, it helps with ISO, and it's doing the township a favor. You know, it's providing a good service to the township. So, you ready?
Yep, sorry about that.
And so, and like I said, I've got the information printed out here, so we've got it as far as the establishment when we're ready to move forward with that. So, and back to my minutes now. Wherever I laid them.
Too many pieces of paper.
Well, this meeting in particular was a lot of things to cover. It just kept building more and more as time went by. So something else that's came up. and this doesn't have to be in the form of a resolution, but a vote. Non-directed funds, and they haven't been an issue until this year. And now they're changing what they're gonna do with non-directed funds, and a good, excise tax is considered, was a directed fund. So say if we got $4,000 from what's called CVET, it's Commercial Vehicle Excise Tax, the county sent that out and they tell us, okay, you put this much in fire, this much in township, this much in poor relief, this much in rec. It was all spelled out, and this, much in fire, everything was spelled out for me. They're gonna stop doing that. And what the state is recommending is we direct any, non-directed miscellaneous revenue into our general fund. And the good thing about that, we can put it in general fund, it can be used for anything. So instead of trying to split it up ourselves, I think it's easier to keep track of, and truthfully it is,
Yeah.
than me trying to figure out, well,
Yeah.
I'll put this much here, this much here.
Right.
So, what I need is a vote, and we're probably looking at between 5,000 and 6,000 a year, and it's mainly excise tax. But I still need it in the form of a vote that I'm allowed to put, non-directed miscellaneous revenues into the general fund. So if I could get
Make a motion that we allow non-directed miscellaneous funds to go into the general fund when received.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hopefully,
No.
yeah. Okay, so we got that covered. Next situation I was talking a little bit before we got here, Brad, that I've run into, and it's always at the end of the year. Our credit card limit right now is $2,000 a month. What happens is when I've got money to spend at the end of the year and I'm buying office stuff, just like those chairs, I hit it or I go above it. Then I have to go in and pay the card to get the credit limit unfroze, so I go back and forth. Well, and it's through Wayne Bank. What I'd like the okay to do from the board is to increase the credit limit to 5,000. Most of the months, I don't use the card more than a few hundred a month. It pays like our cell phone bill every month comes out of it. There's a few miscellaneous things that come out every month through the credit card. But the big time is at the end of the month or at the end of the year. And it's usually September, October, November when I'm using money out of the funds that I've saved all year to not use to see where I end up at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then when I bought a new computer and then tried to buy the chairs, it wouldn't let me. So I had to go in and pay down the bill and then wait a few days, which actually worked out better in this case, because had I bought those chairs, they would have been, I can't remember the actual price, but they marked them down 25% 2 days later when I went to buy them. So I bought more of them. I thought, well, I'm going to replace more for that. So, yeah, but what I'd like to do is up it to 5,000 if we could. Like I said, most of the time of the year it won't be an issue, but towards the end of the year, it'd be nice to have that extra on the credit card.
Well, never know if an emergency's gonna come up.
Right. Well, and this year, on top of that, I had to go to Indianapolis for training, and that was had to pay for the hotel out there this week for that. So it all kind of hit up at the perfect storm.
Just a one.
Yeah.
Big
So,
chunk, yeah.
good. So I need somebody to make a motion to increase the credit card limit.
I made the last one.
All right, I'll make the motion, we raise the credit card limit to 5,000.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Okay. The next thing I've got down on the agenda, I got a call from Chris Lane last week. Actually, I was at the conference in Indianapolis last Monday, and he called and he wasn't there. I thought he was calling me to see where I was at so we could meet up for lunch or something, but he wasn't there. But they're looking at changing the food pantry and doing away with our agreement starting in January. I think the way he talked, the food pantry has just got overwhelming for him and his wife, and I think his dad helps him. And I think it's turned into a lot bigger animal than what they thought it was going to be.
I can understand it.
Yeah. So, but he did say that he talked to Gleaners, and Gleaners has already told him they're doing away with their mobile food pantry. Yeah, and they would normally come out here once a month, and he said about 50% of the people from the mobile food pantry were Jackson Township people, and about half from his township. So a lot of our people go up there. Of course, we've been paying $3,000 a year towards their food pantry, and then that gave me the okay then to refer people from here up there. So it's worked out well. So, and that's something the state likes to see, because they don't want to see duplication of services. They'd rather townships partner with each other. So he did say that Gleaners and I tried to contact Gleaners again about the mobile food pantry to get it here, and they never would call me back. But now they want to reach out to somebody in Jackson Township to try to work with them on getting food here, and maybe for like a once a month type distribution. So what I said, something he asked me about here, and I said, well, we don't have the room here now. We just got new carpet, in case you guys didn't notice.
Oh, I
The carpeting is new.
Yeah.
And I said, it used to be, we had our board meetings in there at the desk, but now we've actually got to have them in more of a public environment. So to try to set up anything in here would be bad. The only extra room I got is on the other side of the wall. And it may take more than what they've got room for. I asked about the church, because Gleaners partners with a lot of churches, and the Christian church still has their food pantry. So I've got a message into Danny Berry to see if they've ever considered partnering with Gleaners on their food pantry. Chris wasn't for sure, because I think what information he had was hearsay, but he said that it comes back to also he had heard that they had mandatory prayer, which I don't know that they actually do
There's a
that.
bunch that goes with that.
And then they also had a requirement for income. And I've never been there. I don't know that the Christian church does.
Christian churches.
Yeah.
Requirements.
Yeah. And
Gleaners had us sign a sheet where they signed that their income was a certain level.
well, from what
But we
Chris
never
said, now with Gleaners, they don't want
Ask
that.
about it, so.
Gleaner, if I'm not mistaken, there was a guy that goes to church, that went to church where I went to church, and he was the head of the one in Newcastle. And they had Gleaners at one time, but they had a stipulation that you can't do anything or can't say anything. I think it was Gleaners, don't quote me on this, but they couldn't have anything to do with religion, God, or anything.
Well, you can do it through a church, but you can't force prayer on the people that are coming in. And that was what Chris said he had heard was
I know
an
when they've
issue.
done it before, they've never done that, but,
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
then it came back also to.
Now, would you have to go pick it up, or would they
No,
still?
no, that's what I'm trying to work out with the church, to see if they'll partner with
They
Gleaners.
would house it.
Right, because they've already got everything set up for that purpose.
I'll tell you,
Because you don't have enough room.
No,
no, when Gleaners would back the semi in before, well, you've been here, when they backed it in. There's not room for anybody to come here and pick up food.
Yeah.
I mean,
can
it would be down 40 and it would be a mess.
but
There's just not the room here.
You don't have the room.
what I'm hoping is, if Danny wants to partner with Gleaners, then we can work something out. And the money we've been given to Jefferson Township to help their food pantry, we can give locally to the Christian church. And I asked Danny, I said, do you guys, and I'm still waiting for a call back, but I wondered if they run that through like an LLC, a separate entity than the church. I don't know.
Not sure about that.
But I'd have to get clearance from the state on who to write a check to. But, I'd like to see it stay local and here. And I guess Chris talked like there's two people, Jeff Munchell and Jeff Munchell's mother, who help him up there and who would like to see it here too. And they would actually help take care of the giveaway. Of course, you want more than that in case something would happen to them and they couldn't. So,
It's a massive operation.
Right.
Well, that's the thing, it's
There's
not only the housing of it, but you got manpower.
right.
Exactly. And the number of people that's using it now opposed to was 10
Well,
years ago.
My thinking was Christian church, they're already set up for that. Because
They've got the deal.
from what I understand, their addition, part of that was just for the food pantry, to be able to operate the food pantry down there. So,
I have called a couple times down there to donate things, but I can't get a call back from anybody.
yeah,
So
I don't know if she's connected to that, she's the church secretary, but, she went to school with Chad, she was a Craig. can't think of her name, but I think she's the secretary down there.
Yeah.
Or
I think she was the one I called.
can't think of- Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's all volunteer, I'm assuming, so they're
The
busy.
Position may be paid.
So,
I'm not
yeah.
sure about that, but I
Yeah.
can't think of her name. Chad would remember.
But you know, if they're not interested in it, I wonder if Golay Center would be.
Who?
Golay Center,
Oh, I don't know that they'd want to mess with that.
Yeah.
You'd have to have room for it, you'd have to have refrigerators and,
That's the thing. I'm not sure where
you know,
where they would house it.
yeah.
The one they had in Newcastle at the old Walmart building, before they put the license branch in there, part of it, that whole parking lot was full, and they had 2 lines, and they probably had, I'd say they had 15 to 20 people working.
Mhm.
You just pull up and they put it in your car and,
I'm on the board for the Western Wayne Affordable Housing, and I thought about maybe our gymnasium at the old school, and then have people come through the parking lot and carry it out the back door of the gymnasium. But again, that'd be, if there's no sense recreating a wheel if the church is already set up for it,
Well,
and if they're willing to partner with Gleaners.
yeah, they're set up there. They got the parking lot. They got that alley.
Right.
I think you could
Right.
be a
just
private
Right.
house to it.
Right.
out.
You know?
Are
So-
you thinking about the truck just coming in and handing it out from that,
No,
or having?
they
it?
got to store it there.
Yeah,
That's what Gleaners is getting away from. They're not gonna do the mobile food pantries.
okay,
They're shutting that down.
See, and that's a big part of it,
Yeah.
or it used to be to take it right out of the truck.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think they used to do that over at Kroger's
yeah,
So-
parking lot in Richmond, but
If they can, you know, we may end up having to have another meeting before the end of the year. I know we're gonna have one in 2 weeks, but depending on what I find out, Chris talked like Gleaners may wanna come out and meet with us and him and maybe the church as a group and see what we can
yeah.
do. Cause I've not had anybody in here yet, but I know SNAP benefits are getting cut and, you know, a lot of people are gonna get reduced, so.
There's a lot of people depend on that pantry.
So, and you know, it's not meant to be
No, it's not.
you know, to feed you 24/7 for the whole month, but it's there to supplement,
Supplement.
yeah.
This is not
So-
part of the meeting, but did Nathan or Larry Russell or somebody get hold of you from Kiwanis about that, storing that up there in the back room?
We've already got it set up.
Sorry.
Well, that's something else we're gonna do up there. We're using the gymnasium to house the, food that they're collecting for the Kiwanis food baskets. But the only thing we didn't have was it wasn't secured. So I had Terry go out and he got the locks the other day, and we've got locks on all the doors now. Cause I told him, I said, I don't want hasps and a deadbolt on there. Yeah, you know, I want something that looks nice, cause those are those big, heavy wood, nice doors that we had
Right.
from the old school. And I said, I want it to look nice, cause you know, want to keep the facility nice. So we've got, all 3 doors are secured
Yeah,
and,
that's great.
yeah, so,
so
yeah.
are they going to distribute it out of there?
No,
Or I
we're
mean,
just gonna store it there,
store it there and put it together though and
They'll
take it
deliver
out?
it, yeah. so.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
great.
So I thought that might be another option. The only thing we don't have up there is refrigerators, you know, so, but we'll check with the church first, because like I said, I think that'd be our best bet. But,
Well, from a Kiwanis standpoint, I don't think we're gonna need refrigerators. The cold stuff we get that morning.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, and that's what I was saying, if we did the,
If you did the.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be the thing we wouldn't have, would be cold storage.
Yeah.
But not that we'd be opposed to it, you know,
Is that kitchen area just open space now, or is it?
that's actually an apartment. There's no kitchen anymore.
Oh, there is an
Yeah.
apartment in there.
Yep,
I didn't
yep.
realize that.
Yep. All the usable space other than the gym and the locker rooms and the stage, everything else was turned into apartments.
The old music room, the old choir room.
Yeah, all that's apartments, yeah, yeah. The only thing that's still left is the old bathroom that was on that same hall where the music room was. It's still there. But yeah, everything, yeah, it's,
And you go up there and take a tour again.
yeah, it's kind of neat the way, I thought about doing that with some of the old, if we ever had like a reunion of Dublin school, you know, take them up there and
Well,
go
kids would
through.
love to go through there.
Yeah, and, you know, see, especially if we had an apartment empty or had somebody that didn't mind them walking through to see what we did to the apartments,
Yeah.
you know, to the old school rooms.
Look at those old places where Mr. Weston used to chase me down.
Yeah. But
Tell your mother.
anyway, that's,
I got a call one time because Lance and a friend of his took a stick after another kid, hitting him with it. but the other kid had been picking on somebody else, so, you know, it was, oh,
Kind of
well,
deserved it.
don't do that, but okay.
The police officer was already starting to come out of Lance even at an early age.
Yeah.
So kind of be prepared for it, because I'm sure Chris is probably gonna drop our people at the end of the year, so.
That can be a big job, I'll tell you.
Yeah, so, you know, I'll check with Danny, like I said, and try to find out what I can this week and go from there, but it's probably gonna be something that might require an additional meeting before the end of the year, so we can tackle it and hopefully have something in place early next year that'll allow people to still get access to food pantry. Next thing, I've been talking, had Dave Siggers in last week from the Legion, and me and Harry went over to the cemetery in Pershing, and it's the church, Pershing Evangelical United Brethren Cemetery. It's on King Street on the south side of town, back this way from the Germantown Road. So if you're coming King Street back towards the west, it's on the south side. And you can tell that was a church there out by the road. But if you drive the alley between the church and the house, behind that house, there's a cemetery there. And we maintain that. We have for years. And they're wanting to put up a new flag for the veterans that are there. And the old flagpole was over along the side, and it's in a mess of trees that have grown up and just not a good deal. So Harry and I went over and looked at it, and they've got a stone dedicating the cemetery right in the center on the north side. And I thought right behind that would be a good spot for a base and a flagpole. So Dave came over and we talked about it last week, and we'd probably be looking, I don't know, $5,000-6,000 total for a good base, a commercial flagpole flag, and then I want to get it lit. I told him, I said, there's no electric there, but I said, I'd get a good solar powered light. I actually put one on this 2 weeks ago, and I haven't even been down here tonight to see what it looks, but if you go out, you look at our flagpole, I bought one for it, because I had Turpin put a light in several years ago, but it just didn't do a really good job of lighting it at night. So I bought one through Amazon, and it's solar powered, and it's got several panels, and it mounts to the top under the ball and shines down on the flag. So I thought doing something like that at Pershing, because it was only $100, and it's pretty powerful from what I took in the back room and closed everything, and it kicked on so I could see what it was like. And so, we could put something like that on it so it was lit at night. And he talked like it wouldn't be a problem for them. I said, we could split it with you guys, the cost. And right now, before the end of the year, I've got about 6,000 left in cemeteries. And Rex may have to do one more mow, I'm not sure. But just so you know, we've got that cemetery there that we take care of. We actually own one at William Sister and Brick Church, sitting on the hill straight across from William Sister. We've got another one we take care of on Frank Myers between Simons Creek and Brick Church on the north side, and a little jog, and it's a very small one. And then another one south of Dublin on Golay Road. That one, I wrote the name down, so it was the trustee of the Milford Monthly Meeting. And I'm not sure how many stones are there. There's several.
Yeah.
Gary Rubendahl got hold of me a few years ago, and he wanted to go down and clean some of the stones up. So I told him to go ahead, and he went down and did some work on it to get them reset and cleaned up. So we take care of those four, plus we partner with Dublin, because about a third of their cemetery sits in the township. And then also the Lutheran Church in Pershing, we partner with them. Each one of those receives $6,000 a year from us. So between Rex's mowing, I allot $20,000 a year. Between Rex's mowing, helping Dublin, helping Pershing, and what I spent this year, we're still gonna have about 6,000 left. So I told Dave, I said, if you guys want to split the cost, even if it costs us $3,000 or $4,000, I'm more than
We should
willing
do it.
to do it.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's getting prices and gonna let me know, and then talk to the board for the Legion and get back with me on it. So I told him we'd like to do it this
All
year.
the cemeteries listed are ones that Rex maintains.
Right,
Okay,
right.
that's what I thought.
They
Rex
should
does a
have
good
a
job.
meeting the first Thursday of the month.
Okay. But Rex does a real good job. And that's one thing I don't mind paying him for, because I don't have to worry about it. I know if he sees something, he's gonna take care of it. He won't walk away. Chris got hold of me 2 years ago and he said, I got some guy, he's so great, he's from Southern Indiana. He's gonna maintain ours and do all this stuff. And later that summer I saw him, he said, whatever you do, don't call that guy. So I guess it wasn't a good
Didn't
result.
last, huh?
Yeah, it didn't work out well. So I said, no, Chris, I said, I've got a guy that, and I told Rex about Hagerstown. He said, I don't want to do any more. And it's mainly Pershing because of all the weed eating, because it's got the larger cemetery and more stones. And you can't drive a mower between everything. You've got to work to clean it and do it right.
We had a
So-
guy one time put in a bid for the same amount of places, and I think he won like 10,000 or something like that. I mean,
Well,
at that time, it was just ridiculous.
The cemetery up behind our church there on Brick Church Road, Nettle Creek, that whole thing, when, can't think of the guy's name that mowed it, he mowed with a wheel horse that blew.
Gilbert,
Hilbert, yeah.
Bluegrass
Laniel.
all over the
Laniel.
stones.
Laniel,
But before that, he was a Hilbert too.
oh, I don't know.
But Laniel did it for long. Anyway, the guy that I'm thinking of had a wheel horse that ejected in the back,
yeah,
blew, so it didn't blow in the stones.
Yeah.
It was real meticulous and stuff, and he was doing, that's 25 or pushing 30 years ago.
That's a big
And
cemetery
it was like $8,000 in, I thought, I wouldn't,
Mm-mm.
that's no way. He gets done and starts over the next week,
That's
especially the
right.
first part of the year.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah, there's no way I'd do it for that, so. No, Rex gonna be very conscientious about it. It's gonna be-
I hate the thought of someday if he gives it up and quits to try to find somebody else that'll do it and do it right.
Yeah,
I can't do it because I can't get paid to do it. I can do it, but I do it for free, and
I
find somebody that-
I just absolutely don't want to.
it's just hard to find anybody to do anything anymore, and
I'd do it if I didn't have to do the string trimming.
Well, that's,
Sit on the mower. I'd
oh,
do it.
that's killed my back. There's no way I could do it.
so that's where we're at with the church. So this, you guys know that we're looking at working with the Legion to get them, to get a flag put up over the Pershing.
Is that going to be this year? I mean,
Yeah, I
try
told
to get
Dave I
it
want to get it done this year. That way it can come out of this year's budget because I've got $6,000 that I can help with. So, because right now I don't know where I'll be next year as of yet, so. And getting into hiring help, I put an ad in the local paper and I haven't gotten one resume for a part-time assistant. I said, high school diploma required, college preferred, but they have to be knowledgeable in Word, Excel, the Microsoft Office products. And I haven't gotten
I'm
anything.
really surprised.
So that's where we are with that. And hopefully I'll get somebody this year. If not, we'll make do. And when Judy's around, I know she can handle things here at the office. If somebody needs an application or whatever, her and I will both be out of town in January. So may get Harry leave stuff out and Harry can mail out applications if nothing else, and I actually hired Terry Craig the last time we went on a cruise where we were all
I
gone.
remember that.
And Terry worked down there for a few days, but it's just as easy just to have somebody, and mainly mail out applications because there's no need for decisions that week while I'm gone. There's nothing that I can't either call and authorize from wherever I'm at or pen until I get back. So, probably the only thing that we run into would be a funeral, a death. And if that happens, normally Chris or Alan, they know that person's situation, that they are financially destitute, and I can go ahead and authorize it and cover the cost and then worry about.
They don't send them down to us unless they know that it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, and most of the time, well, not all, but several times I've had to complete the application because they didn't have any family here. They were single on their own, and I had to just basically take their driver's license and complete the application myself. So,
Wow.
if they have a family member, then the family member does the application in that person's name.
Do you have
And
very
gets-
many of those typically?
It depends. I've only had one death so far this year. Now, I probably just jinxed myself. and
You
I'll-
did.
I'll
I
give you-
guarantee you did.
I budget enough for 6. I've got $12,000 put back for funerals. There's been years where I've come close to, using all that, and other years, last year, I don't think I had one.
Was there a gentleman over the Bowlingers? just recently, or was that
Mhm.
Alan was telling me about that? I
No.
don't know if he approached him,
No,
one of the longtime workers over there.
yeah. And they know I'm here if they need me. And in this year's budget, I increased it. We were looking at $1,200 for either cremation or burial, and now it's 2,000. Most of the state, trustees have raised it because it's just hard. Again, at $1,200, they're barely covering their own costs, on a very bare bones situation.
Yeah.
So most of the trustees have gone to 2,000, and they're also, you're not supposed to let the family add to the funeral. If they have that extra money, they're supposed to, pay for it. But they're kind of letting that slide a little. So if they want to buy like a spray for the flowers for the casket or things like that, I'm not going to be that big of a jerk where I expect them to, most of those people are not in a situation to help much. That's why they're coming to me. So, so that's where we're at with the cemetery, and I'll let you know how that goes. Hiring assistant, like I said, nothing yet. Office remodeling, that's the last thing on the list. I've got word from Taylor that they finally got the state approval, because we got started on the bathroom and then they had to stop it because the city wouldn't issue a permit. They said the state needed to. And I think that goes back to the fact it's a public building and they didn't want to take responsibility locally, so they pushed it off to the state. Well, then Taylor had to go get a contract or a draftsman to draw up a blueprint to submit to the state. An architect actually has to turn in paperwork on the project. So that was done, 5 or 6 weeks ago. I heard that they've got the okay now. So we're gonna get back in the list of work. So probably in the next couple of weeks, they'll get started and get the bathroom knocked out. So just so you know, it's gonna stay the same width, but the length will come close to doubling. The original costs were $23,500. And I'm, in my mind now, I'm kind of looking at, it's gonna go towards towards 30,000 total. I wouldn't doubt a couple reasons. One's because they've had to get our architect hired and do the state permitting. So that's gonna raise costs a good bit. And of course, when they give an estimate, it's an estimate anyway, because you can't plan on everything just like this coming up. Also, we've got the money to cover it. We have 50,000 put back for capital improvements in this year's budget. So the carpeting was part of it, and that was just a little under 10,000. The carpet, the vinyl, and then there's a piece of vinyl behind the wall there that's going to go down in the bathroom when they finish the bathroom. It'll match the entryways, so it'll be the same gray vinyl. It's and with the bathroom, I'm also going to have them. It's got an old water heater in the attic and then the upstairs, and it's a small water heater. It's out of hot water in just a matter of seconds, so it's probably lined up bad anyway. Plus it's old. Yeah. So what I talked to Taylor about is putting in a tankless water heater. That way, if we need a large amount of hot water, we'll have it no matter what. And just go ahead and while we're doing it, because we really don't have room for a regular like 40 or 50 gallon water heater, where the tankless can be mounted above or wherever. And
you're not eating unless you don't.
Exactly. So we're not sitting there heating water all the time, because the main thing I do is wash hands or wash up, the coffee pot or something like that. So that's another plus too. Probably utility savings would help offset the initial expense.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's where we're at with that. And then I did get an estimate on the painting. And what I'm looking at is painting from both sides, from all the way from east wall to west wall. The only room that wouldn't be painted would be the storage room. It's white now. This yellowish color will be covered in a light grayish blue to match the carpet. And so it'll be fresh paint from one end to the other. And then when the Taylor gets done with the bathroom, it'll be painted the same color. So it'll be a light grayish blue. And then The chair rail down will be a little bit darker shade in that room. It's Persaponco Painting in Richmond that came in and gave me the bid. They're actually the ones that painted the outside, the trim work outside and the back, and they did a really good job on it. Yeah. So, and they said, and I just got the bid back today, and I can let them know we'll probably be in their lineup of work within probably 2 weeks. They'll start. So probably about the next meeting, there may be something going on painting wise and for the bathroom. Hopefully get it done. So I don't know, we'll have it all done before then, but I would doubt something won't be close to being worked on. So yeah, I told both of them, I said, I need to have it off this year's budget. So it's got to be done by year's end. I don't want to you can carry encumbrances over to the following year, but it's a pain, and I don't want to have to deal with
Best
that.
tell them that you should.
Yeah, let's get it done. So,
Yeah.
Cause they'll push something else off the other.
just a couple other items to talk about. We're getting a new township website. I can get it through the state of Indiana. Right now, our website, I've got it through GoDaddy. It's jacksontrustee.com. And it does what we need it to do. Have you guys ever seen the website?
No, not in a long time.
I have it.
It's pretty basic, but it gets done what needs to be done. This is our website, front of the building. Talks about what is a trustee. I've got it set up so if somebody wants to apply, if they don't want to come in for an application, they can download a PDF on the assistance, the required documents, and then the rental form we use for the landlords. Or they can go online and click that link, and it'll take them to our website set up for us, where they can complete the TA1 online and enter last name, for Social Security, and their email, and then begin application. They complete that, and then the software we use, Tom Software, will let me know that they completed it and send me all that information. So it's nice. And then also on there, the Energy Assistance Program, which I need to update that, give some information how they can apply. I need to update the dates on it because actually they start taking applications this week on Wednesday, and then they'll send out money in November. So that's when my people that come in for assistance slow down in November and December, because normally they've gotten their money from the Energy Assistance Program. So that makes it a little bit easier for us. Upcoming events, that's a page I can control things. Right now I haven't updated it since the Canal Days, but I've got stuff on there about Canal Days. And then live and archive meetings. Our meeting will go on here that we're doing today. And that's part of the state requirement. You got to have access on your website for the meeting. And then energy systems meetings, meeting agenda. I've already got our today's agenda put on there. And then the minutes from this meeting, I'll add to the downloads. People can download it if they want. And then there's contact information. Our new website will use different formats that the state provided. And I don't know that there's anything particularly wrong with that. It, like I said, it gets the job done. But the state has some real nice kind of preset patterns. And I looked at Randolph County, Indiana, and that they provided their website. And ours will look similar to this, but it'll be with us. And it'll probably have that same picture of the office in the background. It'll have links on the side. It'll give different information. I talked about like employment, weather, things like that, but it'll have things available down through here, a calendar, and then different features that are on there and contact information. So I have to go through training. There's like 4 classes that before this goes live, I think ours will probably go live about the middle of next month, about the middle of November. So, and our site's gonna be in.gov/town, you don't have to worry about writing this down.
Okay.
in.gov/townships/Jackson 89. There'll be another one that's Jackson Township 89.in.gov. That's where most people go to. And then there'll be a redirect from jacksontrustee.com. Since we've had that one so long, we'll keep that one. It's just when people go to it, instead of going there and seeing this, they're gonna go there and see this.
Okay.
So,
Can you pull over stuff about local, like your,
Mhm.
the.
and that's
the
part of
links, like Canal Days
Yep.
and those kind of things?
Yeah, that's part of the classes that you go through, is you can edit that website. So I'll be able to go in and do my own edits.
When you say it goes live, now, this might be a silly question, but can people get on the website and be live while this is going on and actually ask you a question? or-
Not with the setting I've got on this one right now. Once we get accustomed to this and it's going, there, it may be where we can do that. We can actually let them.
Yeah, cause I
ask
just
questions.
wondered, like in bad weather, if somebody didn't want to come in
Right,
and they wanted to.
Right. That's part of the settings on YouTube, and you can have live comments, if you want.
Almost have it like a Zoom meeting.
Right, kind of like a Zoom meeting, yeah. So there's different options. This is, YouTube Studio, and it's free, but there are some paid software programs that will connect through YouTube. And that's another thing about this website. It automatically, they enter the information, which they've already done on our channel. Our YouTube channel is the name. I can't go to it because I'll shut us off, but it's like Jackson Township Trustee at Jackson Township Trustee.com, or is it?
Yeah.
Jackson Township YouTube, it's a YouTube channel. But, when this goes live, like right now, I have to take the link after we have this meeting today and manually put it into our website, so it's there for people to review. With this new one, through the state, it'll pull that information down automatically, and it'll install a thumbnail of the meeting, so they can go in at any time, so I won't have to worry about updating that. Yeah,
So make sure that they make sure it works and you don't have to worry about it.
right.
Is
So,
there any, we would, with the, link to the current one from the GoDaddy site, is there a length of time that we need to keep that GoDaddy site going?
yeah, we need to keep that going. And they told me that it's better to anyway, because what happens is, I've had that site probably for 5 years now. And they said a lot of scammers will look for those to go empty, buy it up, and then run a scam through it. So they said, don't let it go.
Oh,
Even
wow.
if you didn't want the site anymore, don't let it go vacant,
People think they're
because
dealing with you
they
and,
think they're dealing with me and they're actually dealing with a
Yeah.
scam. So we'll just use that as a redirect. And
Does the state charge us for the?
No,
their site at all?
and that's another good thing. There's different levels, but for what we need, there's no charge for this. They're creating it for nothing.
Good.
So the state covers the basic site. So if we wanted, like with Cambridge or Dublin with utilities, if they want the ability to have them pay utility bills, they'll do that too. But the more you do additionally, there's more cost involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, I thought,
Yeah,
I found out about it, I thought, shoot, that's a good deal for us, and the good thing too, it also means there's different rules in process now. And I've dealt with this at IU East, ADA accessibility. Sites have to meet certain standards by next year. And they actually will scan your site every so often to make sure it meets the ADA requirements. I manually have to do that for classes now at IU East. And if there's issues, like it'll say a PowerPoint slide doesn't meet ADA, I have to go in and change that slide or enter a description in so people understand what that slide is for it to become ADA compliant.
Really?
Yeah. So that's why I don't have to worry about this. And there's also more and more restrictions on government websites for security purposes. So just maintaining a GoDaddy site is not going to probably meet all of the guidelines, the
For
federal
somebody
guidelines.
that's gonna use those services online, I would think for quote unquote government entity type things like us, it would behoove everybody to be sort of the same format.
Right.
You know, I can go to Randolph County and I'm used to navigating and find out where applications are in Randolph County or whatever. Now I'm in Jackson County Township. Now I need to do that. Oh yeah, it's very
That's
familiar.
true.
This is where I go.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, some similarity.
Yeah.
You know, you want to differentiate it with a picture or
Yeah,
contact
well-
information or whatever, but
And that's kind of what our site will look similar. You know, it's gonna have on the left-hand side, the drop-down menus and information there, and then other information, but it's gonna look very similar to Randolph counties. And I think they had 4 different templates, and I can actually, once I get the training, go in and change templates if I want to, change the entire look of the website. But they're all kind of the same in a way. You know, it's just, when I saw Randolph County, I thought that's a good one to start off with, you know,
yeah.
and it's got everything we need, so. And it'll be an IN website, Indiana website, but like I said, the URL is gonna be a little bit different, because they said with the townships, they're doing like, Jackson Township 89, so it was almost every county has a Jackson Township. So then they stuck the 89 in there to identify Wayne County. That's how they separate Jackson Townships across the state, you know.
Jackson, Washington, and
Yeah, there's certain ones.
Jefferson, and
I went to the conference last week out in Indianapolis for the Indiana Township Association, and they had a game going. It was Township Bingo, and they had forms that they gave everybody, and it had like Jackson, it had Harrison, Washington, different townships, and you had to go around the building and get people to initial. So I didn't do it. I thought, I'm too tired. I'm not getting up and running around this building. But I bet I initialed 20 forms, because they come by, who are you? And I'm like, Jackson. They looked at, I need Jackson.
Oh my God.
Really, people.
Wow.
But this training's, that's another thing too. It's gonna be mandatory that we have training. So I don't know how it's gonna affect the board. I know the trustees are definitely gonna have a lot of continuing ed. So as much as these classes get boring, I'm gonna have to keep going. I'm gonna have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, and my hope is somebody will develop online training, so we don't have to go so far, because right now, the only option I've got is usually Indianapolis or Noblesville or somewhere out that
Offer
way.
Online at this point, huh?
There's one?
They don't even offer online. at
No.
this point.
No, and
It's,
it goes mandatory in 27, I believe it is. So next year is kind of that transition year. So I'm hoping
seems like
somebody-
they would,
somebody
That
comes
would
up
be
with
the-
online.
you know.
Because trying to get everybody out there, I mean, there was probably, I don't know, a couple hundred, 250 people there. But in most of those, I mean, not all those were trustees. Some of them were board members. So maybe 150 or 200 trustees, but you've got 1,000 trustees across the state.
Yeah.
So there were a lot who weren't there,
Yeah.
and they're not getting that training. So
Well, what's gonna happen when some of these older ones are not gonna be capable of doing this?
here's, you
And then
brought this up at the right
Are you
time.
gonna,
The last thing I wanted to talk about was mergers.
okay,
And this is something they talked about at the training last week. The state has gave the Township Trustees Association, you know, either you do something or we're gonna do something, but there's gonna be mergers.
Somebody's gonna.
And it's almost gonna have to take state to say, okay, here's what's gonna happen. Because there's townships that aren't gonna go away on their own. Nobody wants to say, well, you know, especially they've been around for 200 years, you know, here at Adams Township, we've got a long history of this and this and this, and we're staying here, we're not going anywhere. And, you know, that's all fine and good, but if you're not helping anybody, you don't maintain an office, you're not doing anything.
but
That's
initially
a
it's
problem.
run by the state, right? I mean, they have to meet state
Well, see,
requirements.
townships, I mean, they set up training and stuff, but townships have been part of Indiana history since Indiana
Oh,
began.
yeah.
You know, townships were the main government source
Yeah.
for years. You know, they ran
They took care of
schools, fire
schools,
protection,
roads,
police
everything.
protection. But
Yeah.
slowly over time, things have been taken away. And now we're down to what we are. But I don't know. The thing that they talked about, they looked at population. And they said they don't think that's just a fair way of looking at it, going by population. They said the things, and I don't think we've talked about this, but things they also looked at was fire protection. And what they talked about, do you just write a check for fire protection, or do you maintain a fire department? because they're gonna give more credit if you maintain a fire department. We don't. We write a check for fire protection. So that's a strike kind of against us.
Yeah.
Another thing they talked about was poor relief, because there are a lot of townships out there who don't handle one poor relief case the entire year, especially rural, because they don't get that many people coming in there wanting help, because it's normally farmers or renters in rural areas, and they don't, when you've got more towns, you've got more issues with people, and needing help. And so that's a thing too, is they're gonna look at a combination of things. And I didn't get a good look at it. I was at the back of the room, so I could get out of there when I wanted to, and I had to walk in front of a bunch of people. But they put a proposal up on the board that they're gonna run before a couple of the senators and representatives, probably this winter, for possible introduction next year, that they're coming up with at the Indiana Township Association as their proposal. Here's how you're gonna merge. And what they're looking at is a 40 to 50% reduction in the number of townships. So Indiana, Wayne County, we've got 15. So if they went with their guidelines, we'd lose, 6 townships?
Yeah.
And,
And
in the long run, it makes sense.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's gonna double or triple your work, right?
well,
Maybe.
it'll increase the work for the ones that are left, because you're gonna
Have
have
to create mandatory, I mean, you're gonna not only gonna have to budget for a helper, you're gonna have to budget for a full-time assistant.
Right.
Or two
Right.
part-time or something.
Depending on how much you end up with, so.
But if you set it up for just Jackson Township, if you've got everything in a row, adding another township is not gonna be that much difference. You're just
It'd
gonna
just
have,
be the number of applicants that
Yeah.
would
But
change.
yeah,
but-
that'd be the.
I mean,
Yeah.
because everything basically should be the same township to township, the same forms, the same everything.
Supposed to.
Yeah, but you almost have to do that.
Like this morning, I got an email from a girl that was asking about somebody hadn't mowed their yard all year, and was upset. Well, number one, we don't take care of that. That's a zoning issue usually.
Right.
But as I checked about it was in Jacksonburg. I looked up the address because I thought, that doesn't sound like.
She just got Jackson. She didn't.
Exactly. See, and I told her, I said, I'm sure you assume because you live in Jacksonburg, Jackson Township was your
Yeah.
area. And I've had that over and over.
oh, yeah.
I bet every week I have at least one person, if not multiple, call me from either Washington Township, Harrison Township, from Hagerstown, from Jefferson, or from Henry County. Because all they know is they see an office here and they think we're the office
For
for,
the whole book.
for a big area.
We're
So-
probably one of the few in the county that has a
We're,
visible office like this. I think.
in the scheme of things, we're the third largest. Wayne County, Wayne Township is, Richmond.
Yeah.
And then Centerville, population and income wise is second. We're third, followed by Hagerstown and then the other smaller townships. So, yeah, I could see it where we've got like 4 or 5 big townships eventually. And I don't know that they'll actually do away with the township lines, because, that's history. And, property cards, everything that goes by township.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be one office for Jackson, Washington, Harrison,
This would handle 3 or 4.
Right.
possibly.
right.
Yeah, if they don't, it would be a nightmare for them
Yeah, to try to
to
change.
change everything over.
Yeah, so, but I don't know. That's what the Indiana Township Association is proposing. So I'll know more about that after first of the year and see where they
Well,
go.
it's better for the Township Association to get in there and do it the way they'd like for it to be done than have the state come in and do it
Well, see, and that's what,
and just
And
really
then-
mess
then
things
you
up.
with no input at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And not saying they'll go with what the Township Association asked for. They may go for 60% reduction in townships. That wouldn't surprise me. But at least we'll have some input on it. Otherwise, they're just gonna do what they want.
They're just gonna come in and draw a line
Yeah,
about whatever,
right.
whether it makes sense about if you're under this number, population,
Yeah.
budget level,
Right.
whatever, you're done.
But I see pushback because all these old townships, they're not gonna wanna, be gone. And I understand, and I hope it doesn't happen here. If it does, or it's beyond my control. If they come in and say, we're just gonna have two townships and you're not one of them, you know, I hate it, but that's the way it is. But, you know, my hope is that they keep us, cause we're one of the few that maintain an office and, you know, respond to people like
Is
we do.
Centerville, I know they've got the office over there, but is she ever there?
I don't know.
I've never
I don't
seen it,
I don't know.
when anybody's been in there, I've never seen it open,
No,
so I don't know.
so. Anyway,
Interesting to see how it goes.
that's pretty much what I've got. I'll know more about mergers after a few months, maybe the first of the year, January. Because the new session starts in January. So I guess next year, every other year, it's different on the length of the Senate in session. So I'm not sure what it is next year, but it'll have to be done fairly early. So I'd say that probably by the end of the year, they'll have something put together.
Have to wait
To
and see.
prevent that first of the year, right?
Hmm.
They'll have something, have to have something.
I would
at the end
think,
to
yeah.
prevent the first of the year.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So. Anybody have anything else for the meeting? Any questions on any of this? I know this is I know this is a lot, so trying to think if all this paperwork, if there's anything else that we
A
need
lot
to
of time and
discuss, but
effort in this.
normally these meetings aren't that long, but the next one, like I said, it should be fairly smooth and not that lengthy. Cause all we need to do is adopt the budget, and that'll be, like I said, 2 weeks from Wednesday at noon. So,
Is that open to the public too?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, all of our meetings are, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget to call me there too. I told Kat this morning, I said, put me a note on the counter over here because I forget stuff anymore, bad. I mean, I just do.
I've got a calendar this big with where I can write.
I'm gonna get me one of those, erasable calendars, put it on the side of the refrigerator and take a bunch of that junk off it. She's got her like grandkid pictures and.
You don't need all that.
We don't need, I know who they are.
Well, I especially need you guys here because Judy can't vote, so she has to abstain. She has to be here, but she has to abstain.
I can't vote on the budget.
Yeah.
Good.
Right. And because of her relationship, because there's a list of people and then it's basically close family, but the things that they look at is our close family and firefighters. Luckily, we don't have anybody in the fire department, but now they've got it where they can't vote either. So if we lost one body, you know, if you couldn't be at a meeting and if we couldn't get you, we can do a vote online or, you know, get you on the phone or whatever and do by abstention. But if something happened and it got down to just one of us, then we're done and I'd have to take it to county council for approval, which can be done, but that's just more time consuming and more paperwork. So I gotta have at least 2 voting members that aren't hand tied.
That makes us feel important.
If it was if it was a fire person, then they can't vote on any of the.
On anything, yeah.
Or just fire.
No,
issues.
from what I understand, they can't vote on the budget at all, no. So.
And they have a list
and
of
you're,
relatives, how far out it goes.
How far up?
Gil was okay, a brother-in-law, you
Yeah.
know, and the bad thing is, these small towns, it's the
Everybody's
same,
related.
well, it's the same people that are, get on the boards, you know, nobody wants the jobs.
Yeah.
And you're begging people to get on these boards and, you know, the guys that are also on the fire department are the ones that are on town boards and stuff who are concerned and want to help the town.
Right.
You know, and it's not like they're gonna walk in here and we're gonna take money from all these areas and push in the fire. We can't do that,
Right.
you know, but the state still has their rules.
Just the optics of it.
Yeah, so. Well, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? All together, a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourning today's meeting at 1:34 and end of live stream. And